Usually, when a movie is considered to be kid-friendly, the viewer can assume that there isn't going to be anything overly disturbing, but sometimes movies that are directed towards a younger audience will include scenes that are strangely dark and eerie. The placement of these scenes can be quite a shock for an unsuspecting viewer and do a good job of freaking them out. So that's what we're going to be having a look at today. So here are 10 creepy scenes from kid-friendly movies. Number 1. Pinocchio is turned back. Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night. Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night is an American animated movie that was made in 1987 and centers around the classic story of Pinocchio, beginning a year after he is converted from a puppet to a real boy. He has run away from home and is now looking for work at a carnival. Puppetino, a man who runs a puppet show, recognizes Pinocchio and decides to try and lure him into becoming a puppet again. Puppetino plays an organ grinder and forces Pinocchio to dance until he eventually becomes a lifeless puppet.
Stop, please! You'll stop when I want you to, just like the rest of my puppets.
The fact that this is an effective method to turning Pinocchio back to a puppet is a confusing plot point, but later it's explained that this happened because he took his freedom for granted. Regardless, the actual scene in question is terrifying, and you almost don't know how it made it to the final cut, as this movie was almost exclusively aimed at children, and this is something that could easily be in a horror movie. Number 2. Doc Ock's Attack, Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, released in 2004, is the sequel to the highly successful Spider-Man movie released 2 years prior, and centers around the Stan Lee created comic book superhero, Spider-Man. In the second movie, Spider-Man is well used to his powers and has defeated countless enemies, along with the Green Goblin, but is put to the test when a new villain, Doc Ock, formerly known as Dr. Octavius, begins terrorizing New York. After Dr. Octavius gets into an accident, he gets put into a surgery in order to get his newfound arms removed. But before the surgeon makes his first move, the arms essentially act on their own and begin attacking the medical staff. The arms brutally murder every single person in the OR one by one, and each death gets more and more horrifying. It's a disturbing scene for a number of reasons and definitely terrified its viewers. While Spider-Man isn't necessarily a kids movie, it is definitely a kid-friendly movie and was even given a PG rating when it was released. Number 3. Fly outsmarts Joe. Help, I'm a Fish. Help, I'm a Fish is a Danish animated movie created in 2000 that centers around 3 children who are turned into a fish because of a concoction made by a scientist. The scientist also creates an antidote that reverses this transformation, but this is found by the villain of the movie, Joe, who drinks it and gains human-like characteristics. The group decide to recreate this potion and succeed in doing so, but their recreation is eventually stolen by Joe. So, on the verge of dying, Fly decides to test Joe's intelligence and asks him a series of questions that he does not know the answer to. This forces Joe to drink more and more of the liquid until he nearly becomes a human. Of course, humans cannot breathe underwater, so he drowns and eventually dies.
you want.
Yeah, but do you know what happens if an object travels at the speed of light?
It turns into pure energy.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
It depends on the relative amount of molecules in the universe.
What happens to a fish if he drinks too much antidote?
It becomes human.
Can a human breathe underwater?
Of course not.
While a kid watching this movie probably wouldn't find it that creepy, somebody older would be able to see the disturbing aspects of this scene, such as the fact that a child thought of the idea that involves turning a fish into a human so that the person drowns and dies at the bottom of the ocean. Either way, it was the turning point for the main characters in the movie and helped them get their lives back, so I guess for them it was worth it. Number 4. The Tunnel of Terror, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was an Oscar award-winning movie created in 1971. While the movie has proven to be immensely popular with a younger demographic, there is one famous scene that has stood out to viewers over the years because of its haunting nature. This scene takes place during Willy Wonka's tour of his factory and features the winning contestants on a boat. Everything seems fine until they enter a dark, mysterious tunnel that is essentially the exact opposite to the colorful factory. The tunnel features a series of flashing images that are both strange and disturbing, and whenever Wonka is asked why this was happening or where they were, he would simply dismiss the question. He does, however, begin singing a creepy song that eventually turns into a manic yell that creeps out the boat's passengers.
Is it raining? Is it snowing? Is a hurricane a-blowing? Not a speck of light is showing, so the danger must be growing. Are the fires of hell a-glowing? Is the grisly reaper mowing? Yes! The danger must be growing, for the rowers keep on rowing, and they're certainly not showing any signs that they are slowing! This has gone far enough! Quite right, sir! Stop the boat!
They eventually end up at their destination and kind of just shrug this experience off, but for the viewers, an actual answer as to why Wonka put his guests through this experience has never been given. Either way, it made for a great scene, and it still terrifies viewers to this day. Number 5. The Sinking Horse, The Never-Ending Story. The Never-Ending Story is a West German fantasy movie created in 1984 that has achieved critical acclaim over the years. The story centers around a young boy named Bastian who reads a fantasy book revolving around a young warrior named Atreyu who embarks on a quest to defeat an evil force known as the Nothing. While he is on this quest, he must travel through an area known as the Swamps of Sadness. However, his beloved horse Artax gets stuck and Atreyu attempts to help him break free. While you would think that this scene might just be a close call that everyone gets out of, it turns out to be an incredibly disturbing and upsetting scene that shows Artax giving up and slowly sinking, while Atreyu screams and cries.
Artax! You're sinking! Come on! Turn around! You have to now! Come on! Artax! Fight against the sadness, Artax! Artax, please. You're letting the sadness of the swamps get to you. You have to try. You have to care. For me. You're my friend. I love you. Artax! Stupid horse! You gotta move or you'll die! Move, please! I won't give up! Don't quit! Artax!
Now this happens around 30 minutes into a 90-minute movie, so of course, anything can still happen, but this is still a very depressing turn in an already treacherous journey and is easily one of the darkest scenes in the movie. Number 6. Wheelers: Return to Oz. Return to Oz is a 1985 fantasy film that is considered to be an unofficial sequel to the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. It takes place 6 months after the original story, and we see the main character, Dorothy, return to Oz to find out that it's in dire need of help. Soon after she returns, Dorothy is pursued by Wheelers, who are humans with wheels instead of hands and feet. While the Wheelers are villainous in nature and are supposed to be scary, the movie brings them to life and makes them even more terrifying, which in turn makes the chase scene a disturbing and creepy experience. While the Wizard of Oz universe has many disturbing characters and scenes, this particular scene stands out to many viewers because of how bizarre and insane the Wheelers are. Number 7. Holly's Memory: Watership Down. Watership Down was an animated adventure movie released in 1978 that was both critically acclaimed and quite controversial for a number of reasons. The controversy didn't spawn from the actual movie itself, but the age rating that it was given by the BBFC. The movie was classified as U, meaning universal and suitable for all audiences. This was considered to be a strange decision, as while Watership Down is on the surface an animated movie about rabbits and the world that they live in, the movie is actually packed with death, gore, and violence and covers a lot of mature themes and subjects. One scene that was more upsetting than anything else was a scene in which a character known as Holly describes how his home was destroyed and how his family were killed by men who wanted to get rid of their burrow.
Our Warren. Destroyed.
Destroyed? How?
Men came. Filled in the burrows. Couldn't get out. There was a strange sound. You see, the air turned bad. Runs blocked with dead bodies. We couldn't get out. Everything turned mad. Water, earth, roots, grass, all pushed into the air.
Men have always hated us.
This scene is just one of many disturbing scenes in this movie, and if you watch the full thing, you can really see where the controversy comes from, but it is still well worth a watch. Number 8. The Child Catcher: Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was a 1968 musical adventure film that was heavily targeted towards kids and found most of its success with the younger demographic. The film follows two children and their father as they embark on a fantasy-filled adventure in the hopes of saving their grandfather. While most of the movie is friendly and colorful, there is a certain scene that sticks out to viewers because of how disturbing it is. This scene happens when the main villain, the Baron, sends his sidekick to catch the children. The scene features the child catcher luring the kids away and trapping them in a cage.
Mr. Man! Kinder, come by! Hey, wait!
Children, come back here! Come along, my little dears, my little mice. Come to me. What will it be? Ice cream?
Yes, ice cream!
Strawberry, chocolate? It's all inside. Come along, my little dears. Go inside, what a play. Go inside, my little dears.
From the child catcher's method of capturing the children, to the kids' screams as they are entrapped, it's fair to say that this scene is the most disturbing part of an otherwise lighthearted movie. Number 9. The Witches Meeting the Witches. The Witches was a dark fantasy film released in 1990 that was based off of the Roald Dahl's children's novel of the same name. The movie's plot is dark enough as it centers around the main character Luke and his grandfather attempting to destroy a gang of witches who disguise themselves as ordinary women in order to kill children. Luke discovers that these women are witches when he accidentally ends up at one of their meetings. The reveal is quite terrifying as it shows us what these witches really look like, and suffice to say, the image is not pretty.
You may remove your wigs. The doors! Are they locked and bolted?
The scene clearly stuck out to many people as it is still discussed today and has been uploaded numerous times onto YouTube, amassing millions of views in the process. Number 10. The Troll, Ernest Scared Stupid. Ernest Scared Stupid was a movie released in 1991 that features the main character Ernest accidentally unleashing an army of trolls out to a small town. Ernest and a group of friends decide to fight back in order to save the town. Despite the presence of trolls that seek out children, the movie is quite lighthearted but does have a few scenes that are quite disturbing. One particular scene that creeped out the movie's audience was a scene in which Elizabeth, a little girl who dislikes Halloween, first meets one of these trolls. Instead of it happening outside like most of the other troll encounters, it happens in her bedroom, and what's even worse with this scene is that it happens inside of her bed.
Oh, Snuffies, it's just you.
Luckily, this scene happens quickly and there's no other scenes like this in the movie, but this part definitely stuck out to viewers because of how weird and creepy it was. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button. I'll leave a link down below to all of the clips mentioned in full if you want to check them out, and I'll also leave links to all of my social medias, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, which are all DeBerk321. But like I said, that's all for now. As always, until next time.